Okay, hello everyone, I'm back. Hope we've all had a good intervening couple of weeks. I think it's been a couple of weeks, right? Since I last played anything. But yeah, good to be back. Good to have a working computer. I'll talk about that a bit later. Very dramatic event that prevented me from streaming for a little while, but that's okay. I'm back now. Didn't lose any progress, which is also the other really important thing that I was dreading maybe having to deal with. But that's alright. So what we're going to do today is we're just going to clean up some more robbers around here, I think. Here's the Haruspex before we continue with our playthrough. See, we're already laden down with many organs. This is of course exceedingly important. Yes, I think we did that last time. I am interested, in how... This is something I'll probably talk about as well continually through the stream. But the fact that certain things can be simulated in games really simply, right? There's a lot of stuff that I feel like we, as game players, we want a certain level of simulation or fidelity. But really, I think actually what a lot of players want isn't necessarily this in-depth simulation. And like, it sounds good on paper, the everything game, I feel like is what a lot of developers call it. But this everything game is also obviously impossible, but also totally unnecessary. I mean, there's this split, right, between simulation and representation. And what we really need is just thoughtful ways to represent certain ideas. And while that may come with a little bit of simulation, a little bit of baggage on that front, we actually don't need as much as we think we do to create a compelling game world. You can do a lot with very little if you do design your game thoughtfully. So in the case of Pathologic, as we're going to see very shortly, what happens on the second day is something that I hadn't seen many games do before, which is that the game world's market and economy is actually reacting to things that are happening within the game world, within the world of the narrative, right? So prices fluctuate hugely on day 2 in response to rumors of the plague and scarcity. So like something that would have been very cheap yesterday, like a tourniquet, that's now 660. These little alpha tablets, 220. Painkillers, 550. So it's just little, even just changing integers can be really immersive, and this representational quality, right, is exceedingly important, because on the first day of Pathologic, all the groundwork is laid mechanically for a certain for an understanding of the game's economy, right? And particularly the more you play, the more you understand. There are two economies in Pathologic, right? There's the economy that has to do with actual currency, money, and then there's the barter economy, which I think still more games could do with, to be perfectly honest. But you have these two different economies, and one of them basically operates outside of what you would expect in traditional video games, right? most of the time it's expected that... I know when I played Pathologic for the first time, right? The first thing that happened was I'm like, okay, like I'm going to need to collect as much money as possible, and these trinkets I'm just going to sell those like at the store for more money, right? And what Pathologic 2 does really well, in particular, is the economy, is the fluctuating of prices. But Classic HD, obviously, the original Pathologic still does this really well. This fluctuating economy, and forcing the player to actually make use of the things that most other games would consider junk. And it's just simple little cues like that initially probably seem like subversions. It's been so long since I originally played it that I'm sure I took it to be, subverting my expectations at the time. Obviously that's not the case anymore, but there's this real, I don't think how to word it, real sense of sort of scrounging together stuff, like living at subsistence, that's the word I'm looking for, that you're really struggling along, that you're having to do all kinds of things you wouldn't normally do to make ends meet. And of course, I feel like watching me play now, the effect is probably slightly diminished, right? Because of how many times I've played this game. I know sort of how to game the system pretty well. I know what's expected of me. I know there's no negative consequences to breaking into garbage bins and taking what lies within. And I know that people won't care if I do give them a needle I fished out of one of those same horrible bins. But yeah, it's just that constant like clash between simulation and representation, right, is really what fascinates me so much, is that we have these really simulation heavy games, but quite often what we actually need, and what would be a lot more effective, just little moments of representing stuff rather than trying to make it an in-depth mechanic. I mean, it's like what I've said in previous playthroughs about the power of language, right? Language is such a versatile tool that I think still goes underestimated in the pros of a lot of video games. I think actually being able to use descriptive language is hugely, hugely valuable. And it's a shame that, yeah, a lot of games... I mean, Pathologic is obviously sort of uniquely set up to do this really well, in that we have all of the game's information basically being delivered in text form. And I know that not every game wants to include, not every game is suitable to include big, novel-length dialogues or letters being sent to you, or these kinds of things. But there's still like lots of little touches you can do within game design to make the world feel more alive without necessarily having to do very much. And dialogue is one of those things. Being able to have a conversation with a character, I think, is exceedingly important. I know that that's something I look forward to in most games that I play, is being able to have a conversation with a character, being able to see how they think and see how they perceive the world that we both find ourselves in. Because I know there are a lot of games, obviously, that are linear, that you can't sort of affect dialogue in it all, and a lot of those, if those are well written, obviously I'll really, really enjoy those. I've been playing through some more of the Yakuza series, and obviously the characterization in that is really, really strong, and I really enjoy that, despite not being able to pick, in the main story anyway, what to say. But at the same time, I think there's something to be, really to be said again about Pathologic's approach, which is that we have these fully rendered and detailed characters, and we know that they're fully rendered and detailed and like textured characters, because they have a presence within the other playthroughs, right? So if you don't play as Spatula, he'll show up in the other playthroughs. And it's just being able to inhabit those roles that I think is really, really important. And if you haven't played this game before for whatever reason, I really do recommend that you do. But probably watching, even just comparing, like 5 minutes of dialogue from each of the playthroughs, you'll see that the way each character is written is actually really distinct, right? And what's really cool, and something that I have noticed on subsequent playthroughs, is that it's not just the player character, right, that's written differently. Other characters will talk to you differently too, depending on who you're playing as. So you might have someone that's really friendly to one character, but oddly hostile to the next, and just sort of ambivalent to maybe the third character. And it's just little touches like that, again, that make the world, or that give the world like additional character, right? And little twists of the writing like that reward the player for playing through the game again and again. It's not just a few little changes in dialogue or a couple little extra choices. It's the whole game has been rewritten to accommodate your character's worldview and perspective. And I think that's really, it's not a common thing to see, right? That we have all of these different viewpoints actually within the world, sort of fully laid out for us to enjoy and for us to inhabit and challenge. I think that's really the most rewarding part of Pathologic. Obviously, people look forward to the dialogue, but within the context of the dialogue, I think it's really rewarding to challenge the worldview that you held, probably just a few hours ago. Every time you start a new playthrough, right? Is okay, well, do I actually still believe in that anymore, or does this new perspective, does that grant me more information that I needed to make this decision at the end of the game? And I think that's another part of the magic of Pathologic, right? Is the ability to reframe all of these things, to have these arguments that we held so dear, and then to realize, well, actually, maybe this isn't such a good idea, because I remembered I was fully convinced by 20 people currently infected. Cool. Great. It all ends in less than 11 days. Still plenty of time to go. In which the Haruspex under any circumstances gains more than he loses for the first and last time. Great. So that tells us, we got a lot to look forward to here in this Haruspex playthrough. The game is fully prepping us for all the fun times we're going to have ahead. This will be the one day we get a really solid win. Like reframing the world, right? Like actually being able to challenge your own perspective. Basically, you can sort of get into dialogue with yourself, because I was so absorbed in the idea of the Bachelor's playthrough. I was fully convinced, that's what I was saying, I was fully convinced that the Utopians were right, and to a certain degree I still agree with the ideals of the Utopians, but I don't agree with, obviously, the method that they're using to get there, the sort of authoritarianism and single-mindedness of putting the Canes above everyone else. I realise it's probably a little bit sketchy, but at the time it seemed very reasonable. I mean, they were the Bachelors, like, really best friends at that point. It didn't make sense to align with anyone else, and so I didn't. And I think it's just, fiendishly clever. And also, this game remains really starkly beautiful. I'm sure I could take some like high resolution screenshots and like hang them up around my house, and no one would notice anything out of the ordinary. Just beautiful. Okay. Vlad Olgimsky's invitation. The issue with your inheritance has been resolved. See me for additional instructions. Take great care, Olgimsky. And see, this is what I like as well, is this extra little bit of characterization, because we have like these really wordy, elaborate letters, and then we get the sense of who Vlad is just from this little curt letter. He is the kind of person who probably has to write like a bunch of letters a day, and is also used to bossing people around, being in charge. So he'll just send a curt little letter like this and expect you to obey that letter, to listen to what he has to say. And it does also signal the urgency, but there are not many letters written like that in the game, which tells me that it's obviously a deliberate act of characterization towards Vlad, right? It's this short little letter. Alright. Into the lump we go. Hello again.
Fortune turns all things to the advantage of those on whom she smiles.
I've got good news and bad news for you, Master Barak. Predominantly bad, but the good one is there. Well then, let's start with the good news. You may come into your inheritance. No one will dare get in your way. There's no proof of your wrongdoing. You may take the keys from Alexander Sabarov. I can't imagine how they got into his hands, but never mind. That's the good news. Who is this Alexander? Pray, see, I'm not the only one to bear the burden of authority in this town. The power is divided among 3 families, the Olgimskys, the Kanes, and the Sabarovs. The Sabarovs are mostly in charge of, shall I say, the executive power, the enforcement machine, so to speak. And the bad news? The bad news? I've spoken to Sabarov about your case, and he is, to say the least, furious. It seems that he's set on destroying you by any means possible, disregarding my protection and my personal warranty of good faith. What have I done to make him so angry? It's not him, I think, but rather his wife. Katerina is a mistress, a woman of a mystical gift. Her opinion is well respected, no matter what kind of person she is, and she has had a vision of you bringing some horrific bloodshed to pass. That is the price of your ascension to glory, according to her. Is that so? I had no plans for mass bloodshed. I like this. Everyone has their ups and downs. I believe you, I do. But can it really be helped? Alexander trusts his wife more than he'd ever trust me. The Sabarov's duty is to maintain order, and such a discovery about your mission couldn't make them happy. It seems that Alexander has taken it upon himself to stop you from fulfilling this prophecy. Is your name enough to hold him back? Yes, for a while. But the news of Simon Kane's death, the rumors of some epidemic, they're stirring our small town. The people are scared. Alexander is demanding emergency powers. And if he gets what he's asking for, I won't be able to help you like I do now. The lump will not protect you then. So what do we do? Hope for the best. I have arranged for a hideout to be prepared, just in case. You'll be able to lay low and continue your work there, even if Sabarov does get the power, and orders me to turn you in. The place isn't exactly comfortable, but it's reliable. It will become your home. What kind of place? I've commissioned my son to take care of it. He'll fill you in on the details, and hopefully will even guide you there. He's living in some abandoned wreck by the station at the moment. You'll find him there if you haven't already. That won't be hard. And now for the main course. This bachelor, he's in charge of everything around here at the moment. The circumstances demand so. I don't trust him. He's digging some dirt on us, I'm afraid. He's smart though, very smart, the big city rotter. You'd better get on his good side. He will keep digging and he will be successful. He may give you some clues. And I'll make sure he doesn't hurt anything, or anyone. Come by to see him, don't put it off. Thank you, Bruce Vlad. Not at all, I've done so little for you. The times we live in, the mad and cruel times. But you will come into your father's inheritance. Talk to Alexander, and his wife even. Use the short break and the immunity you have, while you have them. I will. Cool. So, this is the home of Mistress Katerina. She had a true vision about me recently. I still remember the previous mistresses. Katerina was barely 20 then. And the keys to my property are held by a man who is in charge of law enforcement and whose duty commands him to get rid of me. Oh well. And then we've got a couple of other places to go. So we can go see the Bachelor, and we can go see young Vlad. The first thing I'm going to do actually is go see young Vlad. I want to get access to our hideout as soon as possible. And it's been long enough since I've played original Haruspex that I can't remember if the workshop we inherit was in any way Issidor's, our father's, or not. I may be misremembering, I think. Because in Pathologic 2, obviously, the workshop we inherit is Issidor's. It's very explicit. But the way it's framed here is that this is an Olgimsky adventure. But we might find out more from young Vlad. It really has been that long. Such a little detail like that has slipped my mind. But one thing you'll notice as well, if you have played Pathologic 2, is the characterization is a bit different. At least to start with, we're really expected to trust Vlad. It's probably clear he has an ulterior motive, but he doesn't seem as obvious about it as he is in Pathologic 2, or so it felt to me anyway. He wasn't the greatest schemer. He felt very transparent in 2, whereas here he's at least got the front of being, magnanimous, big business owner. He's a nice guy. I'll look after you. I'll do what I can for you for a while. Come on, stop playing your little animation. There we go.
Where did those lazy bastards go?
No, I'm right here, Vlad. That's not very nice. Master Burak, we have prepared a shelter for you. Nice to hear that. You mustn't think we're shutting the door on you, though. We'll always be happy to accommodate you at our place. My sister and I have persuaded our father that the lump should become your fortress. But your enemies are powerful. Invisibility will protect you from them. What kind of shelter is it? It is your father's secret laboratory. I had a feeling that was the case, but I couldn't quite remember. So that's good. The place is modest, but well hidden from prying eyes. I'm not sure what exactly you're planning to do there, but if at least a tenth of Katharina's prophecy comes true, then you'll need a secluded hideout. That is exactly what I need. Moreover, I've spoken to Bachelor Dankovsky. He's taken a lot of interest in your affairs lately, and he seems to care about you personally. Oh, does he? That's nice. He dropped me a hint that you may need your father's potion brewing apparatus. It is there. Dankovsky, what on earth does he want? Are you bothered that he discusses your affairs with such confidence? I think he got his hands on some of Issidor's documents. Don't forget that, unlike you, he made friends with the Sabarovs. Anything that had been found at the scene of the crime could have gotten into his hands. I wonder what I'll inherit after that. Even if you only get the still, you could make a fortune with its help. Oh, really? Yes, you may remember the extraordinary properties of the herb called twire. Can you smell the spiciness in the air? It's twire. Twire is extremely rare, but using said device, a skilled person could... Well, you'll get the hang of it soon enough. So that means people do know about this place, doesn't it? I cannot say for sure if Isidore used to bring his apprentices and... strangers over there, of course. I do like, again, just a little thing, I like the text that each character is given within the text. Glad the younger has this, whereas his father just has a lot of ellipsis, right? A lot of just like long pauses. You can tell that he's breathing heavily and thinking in between every word, every sentence. Strangers over there, of course, but knowing his character, I would assume that he did not. I don't think so. I myself found out about it by coincidence. It's really well hidden. Fine. Please show me where it is. Cool. And while we're over here, time to say hi to Bachelor. Got some water. Don't have any bandages, not like my time. Yeah. The rain combined with the colour of this game is just extraordinary. I think, I really am still in love with this game and the way it looks. I know the first time I played it 7 years ago, which is actually genuinely terrifying. yeah, I fell in love with it as I never really had with a video game space before. There was something really vivid about it, something really physical, and it made me really realize, first of all, the impact that digital space actually has on us. This is the game that prodded me to think about space, because the town is obviously so exceedingly important. We need the town, we need to understand the town itself. The town itself is probably one of the game's most important characters at the very least. But the thing that I've come to realize after years of studying the topic is that spaces are narratives, and obviously a video game space is an architectured narrative, a totally completely human-made bit of architecture, where even the trees, were sculpted by human hands. So even nature in games has a human story to tell.
The wretched
And something
wound
like
has
that.
opened. From now on, everyone will have to stay in.
Really, really,
That's
really
for sure.
important. Have you come into your father's inheritance yet? I'll talk about it more in a minute. What's in it to you? Because it's likely to contain valuable information. I am, of course, quite skeptical towards those prehistoric practices, but these days anything could be of help, considering the circumstances. Does the inheritance include your father's notes? It might. I'm currently studying the records of the first outbreak. If at least a tenth of those accounts is true, then a catastrophe is upon us. Yet Isidore Burak had found a way to overcome the beast. If there are any notes on that left, they may save us all. What is the first outbreak? Stanislav Rubin, he was one of your father's apprentices, by the way, told me that an outbreak of a mysterious disease had already happened once in this town, an outbreak that bore many resemblances to the one that killed Simon Kane. Go on. The disease had spread through one of the poorest districts back then and was only miraculously contained. It was only raging for 2 or 3 days, but the memories it has left are still soaked with fear so strong that, well, what I'm saying is that Isidore's inheritance may well be of use. I see. This dialogue that we're having with the Bachelor, you'll notice, is a far cry from the hostility that they showed towards each other in Changeling's playthrough. Alexander Saburov, the person that was supposed to pass the inheritance on to you, appears to be a ruthless and obsessed zealot, and he regards you as an enemy, I gather. That's too bad. But I've managed to at least convince him to restrain his ardor for now. I'm beginning to like you, Waynon. The only evidence against you Alexander has is his wife's dream. Everyone in the town believes she's clairvoyant. Yesterday she foretold me quite confidently that I was about to die before sunset. And yet? Oh well. Hurry up and get your inheritance, and don't be afraid of Saburov. I'm on my way. Come back to me after you get it. I'm sure we'll have a very lively conversation then. I have a strong suspicion you're about to stumble upon quite a few mysteries, and that I could shed some light on them. Will you come? I will. I'll be back. Bachelor? Stay right there. Okay. So we'll wander across and see the Saburovs. But, yeah, the conception of a video game space, I think, is really something that we tend to undervalue. Spaces are things that we move through. Spaces are the stage of the play, I think, is quite often the general interpretation, right? It's important for the action and maybe for the characters, but quite often space is undervalued. But space is actually narrative itself, right? And within a game world, the way that a space is constructed can tell us a lot. It doesn't have to be. I don't want to judge a game for being too gamey, because obviously that's perfectly fine. But it's times like Pathologic, I think, where we have a game that sort of at least purports to represent, a small Russian village, small Russian town in the corner of the world, where we have this interplay between, history and fiction. We have these constant anachronisms And that's what fascinates people, I think, about the setting of Pathologic, is these repeated anachronisms over and over again. There's these little sort of funny things, vividly strange architecture and people wearing jeans and little details like that do make you wonder exactly, what year is this? Who are these people? Little questions like that sort of sow the seeds for really imaginative immersion. But it's little things, right, that tell you stories that allow the narrative to unfold. I'm trying to remember who I was reading the other day, but there was some really excellent points just about how space can be enacted in games. Sadly, I don't have a quote on me right now, but if you haven't read Henry Jenkins on environmental storytelling, it's really foundational game studies text, particularly if you're interested in the ways in which games can tell stories, because obviously one of the big affordances of a video game, it's not, other mediums can do this, but one of the big affordances is actually being able to make a space into one that feels like physical, right? Like video games can transform a space into a physical one that we walk around and that we deal with in a tactile way, and sometimes that can be tactile in the real world as well, for playing with a controller and the controller rumbles and that kind of thing. But even just being able to walk around in a 3D space like this, that's a sincere level of immersion and affordance that we don't otherwise receive, right? And even just here, right, I think the rain, it's hard to tell, but the rain doesn't fall under this veranda here, under this bit of stone. And it's just little details like that, little bits of representation, just like it'll just be a little box that says, okay, don't spawn rain in here, but it does enough, right? Like, it's just these little details that make space feel tangible. And space in video games also doesn't have to feel realistic either to be tangible. I think sometimes all we need is an environment that feels cohesive in its own way, which is what Pathologic is. Obviously, the way the town is constructed, we have these two incredible buildings that, if they were in the, in our actual world, I'm sure they'd be incredible tourist destinations, and poets and writers, at least from all over the world, would come to sort of marvel at them and write about them. But here they just seem to be both sort of two facts of life, but also ones that just fit together really perfectly. I should come with a list of quotes next time that I can actually discuss, because there really is a lot to talk about. So it was you that my vision spoke of, the man that will make a great sacrifice and spill rivers of blood. It is all clear to me now. Are you clairvoyant?
Don't you think you're in the clear?
Oh, the torment. Where's that idiot girl? Where's the morphine? Is there no one to send for it? And you, why are you here? Don't come any closer. Why are you afraid of me? There was a prophecy. Oh, my temples. You are bound to drown our town in blood. The wording is precise. You will make a sacrifice, there will be rivers of blood, and that will be your doing. You will bring back to the earth all the blood that had been taken from it in the past 10 years. Go away. Why would I make a bloody sacrifice? To ascend, and take your due place. You'll be forced to make the sacrifice in order to fulfill your purpose. Empty and pompous words. Oh God, why is this happening? I need a shot. Get away. Go away. I want to give myself a morphine injection. I'm leaving. I'm gone. Cool. I'll just go around and see Alexander. Let's see.
The rabble is completely out of control. They must have been bottling up their lowly instincts for quite some time.
Who let you in here? Who could stop me from entering?
It's untimely. Why now, when I have to resign myself to waiting for the deal to come through?
So, you had the courage to come to me. I thought you'd send someone. Or do you think I'm not aware of what you have done and what you will do? Explain yourself. I know you are a killer. One of the worst killers anyone in this town has ever seen, in fact. You are charged with premeditated murder of at least 4 people. The death of Simon Kane and your father are being looked into. You have no proof. But I will, damn it. If it weren't for Simon's death and the sudden threat of an epidemic, if only they let me off the leash. Perhaps tonight I will finally get rid of it, though. Your patron, old Gimsky, won't be able to veto my decisions then. I'm starting to like him. It is only out of respect for the Bachelor. He is, for some reason, absolutely sure of your innocence. That's understandable. He's an outsider, after all. But it is only out of respect for him that I will hand you the inheritance. I'll be watching every step you make, however. Don't even think about absconding. Be my guest. You may take possession of your inheritance. The affairs of the deceased were conducted by one Asperty. She lives nearby. Her den is in the crude sprawl. You'll have to make do without a guide and find the way to her house on your own. And don't you dare leave the town. Your culpability is all but proven. It's almost over. We'll see. He still marks it on my map anyway, isn't that nice? I did actually have space for that key, right? Yes, good. You super wondering? Oh dear. Having to fight the yawns behind the microphone here. I was really tossing up. I was like, oh, should I stream today? I'm absolutely exhausted. But I figure if I don't stream now, then I'm not going to be able to stream for the rest of the week, I don't think. So, you know, it was sort of now or never, and I figured I'll scrape together enough energy, at least just to get through day 2. And then, yeah, spend the rest of the day bit of a cruisier fashion, hopefully. We'll see how that goes. Never really seems to work out that way, but that's alright. Okay, so we'll get to Asperty's place. What's Sparta with you? Do you have anything? No. Want bullets at the moment? We'll need food there soon. Got enough money to afford something, but it won't be fancy, that's for sure. And yeah, I'll deplete my savings quite a bit. I don't think I had any extra money to spare though yesterday. I think I bought everything I could. Because the muggers don't spawn in until the prices rise. Which is a little bit mean, but understandable. But yeah, the Bachelor, obviously, he starts with a lot more money, so he's quite well situated to just, yeah, capitalize on all of the really, really cheap food and can stock up. Whereas Haruspex, yeah, really can't. He can sort of, I think I managed to buy 1 meal, and that was about it. I'm sure there are decisions I could have made as well that would have got me just a little bit more money, but, you know, we'll make it, we'll survive. Okay, time to see my favourite character. And, yeah, I got a whole YouTube video just about Asperty, if you're curious as to why she's my favourite.
He who distrusts himself is better off silent.
So, this is what you look like. Haruspex, Oinon, heir to Warden Burak, a Menku. Who are the Menku? The Menku are those who know the lines of the body, those who have the rights to make cuts, those who know how to disjoint joints in a way that pleases Earth. True, I know of such things.
Changeling has forced the old Gimskis to stop the requisition. The wretched creature is strong.
And, you know, like, she's got tremendous voice acting as well. She's just as good as I am. I managed to preserve your inheritance, if only by a miracle. You can take it all now. By a miracle? Why? It was almost taken away from me, the orders of those who are in power. They've still managed to snatch some papers I missed. You would have received an empty box, and a pocket full of debts, of course, but today the box is heavy. There, behind your back. Did you get the key? Yes. Take it then. Use it. I hope you'll manage to sort it all out. I can smell twire or twirine infusions inside. If I'm correct, then your inheritance is priceless. If the infusions come with the recipes, then it could also become our salvation. There are probably other papers in there too, and I can hear the chinking of coins. So the infusions are priceless? Why? Why? Because they're made of herbs, of course. When infused and brewed correctly, almost anything can be extracted from twire. And swivery. No one knows for sure how much it can do. Well, twire is the most popular drug, of course. white whip, on the other hand, is thinner and more graceful. You won't be able to handle it if you're not ready to work your fingers to the bone. Tell me about yourself. I am an evil spirit. That's my origin. My name is Aspity, and quite harmless compared to a Shabnak. I wreak anxiety and fear, bringing the strangling feeling of the times changing. But you make my heart go round. I love that. I should just start introducing myself like that from now on. Someone's like, tell me more about yourself. I'm an evil spirit. Why? I'm not sure yet. What I am sure of, though, is that Fat Vlad is not to be trusted, unlike his daughter. She will achieve greatness. And here we have the first, sprinklings that, okay, maybe he's not all he's cracked up to be. Even though she was born of a foul root, her mother was wonderful. I hope she takes after the mother. But Vlad is a swine. I am thankful to those who were there to help me in the hour of need. And look at that, the box spawns in just like that. And you can see we've got a bunch of things to take here. But I don't think we have room for any of
is
it.
tracing the streets like bacteria in a vein.
Yeah, thank you, Aspity. Really appreciate it. So what we'll do is we'll run to the hideout. We'll come back for that stuff. Just save it again there. We'll come back for that after we've dropped off some of our junk at the hideout. We've got more than enough organs. I think we probably don't want to be carrying them around in our pockets for any longer than we have to. I'm going the wrong way. I'm playing on autopilot here. But the wrong autopilot. I set the GPS to the wrong location. Okay. Yeah, I just love the effect of the draw distance in this game. Just the buildings sort of just seeming to come out of the mist, come out of thin air, right? Yeah, really perfect. But it's wandering through the steppe that's one of the most satisfying things still in video games to me. Is this incredible feeling of isolation, and it's amazing that Pathologic can imbue that feeling, right? Because you have this really densely packed urban area that makes you feel quite claustrophobic, and then you wander out here, really not that far away, sort of a minute of walking, 2 minutes of walking at the most, and then you have this incredible just feeling of isolation, even though you know that, just a minute ago you were feeling like hemmed in and trapped. The effect is profound. What are you doing here? Okay, right, so let's... Can't remember if there's a faster way to put them in. I don't know if there is. Can I shift click? No. Control click? Alt click? No. You're just gonna have to watch me furiously mash the mouse button. I'm sure this will be like a tremendous bit of gameplay here. Human heart, extracting organs from human bodies, and is a horrible blasphemy in the local tribal community. Only the Mink are allowed to do this, because they have an ancestral right to cut living bodies. However, some gatherers and also the hunchback from the Atrium district would be willing to trade for something this rare. So we can trade with the Odon, who are out at 3 different tents. And we can also trade with the hunchback, who we've already run into. I'm going to dump the kerosene in here. I probably should have sold the kerosene, actually. I've never found a proper use for it, unless you set the brightness to the absolute minimum. Which really is, it's an interesting way to play, but not particularly fun for long periods of time. Okay, what are you doing here? The place is yours. Make yourself at home. Is this where my father used to work? Yes. I personally have only been here once. There's nothing here then, nothing but tables, instruments, and tools. It seems that Isidore used to spend a lot of time here. Stayed overnight, even. If it was him, that is. It could have been no one else. I hope so.
Prices are rising with every hour. We'll see how the story ends.
The place is yours. Make yourself at home. What is this bulky device? This is, in fact, a still. I think the apparatus had a different purpose originally, but your father had fitted it into this. This is where herbs are turned into essences. This doesn't really look like lab equipment. He used to say that Twire doesn't discriminate. A rather peculiar thing to say, actually. I would have said quite the contrary. I think you'll get the hang of it. How to mix sap with spirits, how to extract oil, how to take care of this monster. It should all be written in his diaries. It's too hard. It really isn't. The hardest part is acquiring the right herbs. Well, what do you know, Vlad? After that, it's more or less standard. Into the still go the herbs. There were already experiments with different combinations. Out of it comes the essence. You could try it with a single herb too. The spirit is already in there. I hope it is just as you say. And the last one. What was that thing on the table? I'm not sure, but I think Isidore used it to work with organic materials. Animal tissues, for example. He extracted the required substances from them. How do I use it? I don't know exactly. Reuben told me that you put an infected organ into one of its parts and then pour one of the previous Twyrine brews into the other. As a result, you get something he called a gruel. Ugh. There was other equipment here too, a microscope for example. Where are they now? Perhaps his apprentices took them elsewhere. I have no idea. Thank you. Okay, time to run back to Aspedy's house and get the rest of my inheritance that I left behind. Cool. So we can read this as well. Behold the sword one, the named one, marked by their brand. He is sick, he is dying, the earth has come up to his waist. I must complete the task that my father left unfinished. I have yet to find out the identity of my patient, but I already know the answer to how his life may be prolonged. There's talk of a sand-pest outbreak. I don't know who is dying yet, but I know what they are dying of. The enemy that was once defeated by my father has returned with a vengeance. I wasn't left this box for its mundane value. There's more inside it than this unfinished deed, this unfulfilled duty. There's knowledge inside, the formulas, the compoundings, the keys to create the only solution by which the sought one may be cured, a panacea. I don't know yet who is at their deathbed, but I know how he may be brought back to life. 2 journeys await me. The first will lead me to the sought one. The second will teach me how the panacea can be made. It's time to depart. So we have these 2 different quests. So we have to find the sought one that's marked by the brand, and we have to make the cure to the sand plague. And I understand, I understand why people weren't necessarily the biggest fan of Artemi being the first playthrough in Pathologic 2, but I think, 5 years later, I think it makes a lot of sense. In that he is the one who is introduced to the town, I think, in the most interesting and dynamic way. He gets to grips with the system of, Pathologic 2 in a way that, the other characters, they don't necessarily start in such a fraught position. The way that they did it, I think, was really, really clever. I'll just take all of this stuff. See you later, Aspedy. Thanks for staring at that box the whole time. Getting exhausted, which makes sense. I think we've been up since midnight. That's my real life exhaustion meter as well. That's what's currently happening to me right now. I can see that's appeared at the top of my screen too. Okay. We go to the Bachelor. Try and get some leads on what we have to do. See what we can dredge up here. Excuse me, sorry about that. Pathologic Haruspex playthrough, now with a sleeping horror game analysis behind the wheel. See how much can I play Pathologic while sleepwalking? That's the question. That would be, that's the next challenge playthrough. Is a complete classic HD playthrough. Just like while asleep, or like while half asleep at least. But that's probably been half asleep has probably been most of the play sessions I've done previously. So maybe it wouldn't be that different. Okay, let's see. Yeah, there's so much to marvel at with this game's graphical style. I know a lot of people don't like the characters or the character models, but the environments are just incredible. I still like the character models. The character models have a lot of charm to them, but I can find like zero fault with the environment and the way that it's presented. Really, nothing remotely significant. The building I always wondered about the most in the original, I think, like the one that sort of has no like answers attached to it and an opportunity to explore it is the station. It's such a huge, weird looking building. It looks, out of a dystopia or something. Some post-apocalyptic, enormous factory, and yet just sort of, it looms there. It's this other, like, really ominous construction. I don't think I talk about it enough, really. But yeah, it has this really distinctive style, but I don't think we ever find out who designed it, or even whether that matters. Excuse me. Yawning too much. Yeah, I'll barely be able to make it to the end of day 2, and then I think I'll have to call it quits, unfortunately. I did want to do more today, but I can already tell that, yeah, I'm going to need to conserve my energy today. Maybe I'll be able to stream tomorrow, we'll see. That would be nice. Okay, hello little girl, do you have schmatter? Always check whether these little the little teensies, that's what they're called, have schmatter. She doesn't have schmatter. Not that I have anything to give her, really, I don't think. Okay, Bachelor, I'm coming. And then I'll crash in your bed for no reason. Wink, wink. Okay. And yeah, the little music changes between districts. That's another way that, even without doing anything particularly special, though all the music in this game is very special, just little music cues, like that's a really good way to distinguish areas from each other.
From now on, everyone will have to stay in. That's for sure.
So, did you find any notes inside? I did. May I have a look? Yeah, you may. So, curious. So Isidore Burak relied on some sort of natural agents. He abstracted the working components from them somehow, I guess, or even used those agents to obtain serum from blood. Damned if I know. There are many people that would give their lives for these mixtures' secret formulas. If I recall correctly, it was created by the committee. You meet them in the marble nest outside the crucible with 3 men, and you can see them in the Haruspex playthrough as well. Thank you. I'd forgotten those. I'd forgotten that detail. That's great. It's great to have under my belt. Thank you very much. I thought there would be more. Never mind. Try to figure out how those formulas work. They might be of some use to us. I do believe you and I will produce better results if we turn this into a collaborative project. Next. I've heard you're being supported by the Algimskis. Is that correct? Yes, that is true. The father is obviously too busy right now, but the son seems to be a reasonable young man. Ask him if there's any equipment in the town that could be used to make these mixtures. He seems likely to know where we can get a distiller of some sort. I've already seen him. He does indeed know where we can get one. Cool. Bachelor was interested to learn more about our family brews. I mustn't disappoint. Not that I remember the exact formulas, but that's what muscle memory is for. First and foremost, I will need the distilling equipment and some wire. Okay, back where you go then. So we use the... Goodness me, I'm terrible today. Use the formulas that we got. I don't know why. I really like this tree. The tree speaks to me somehow. I think I used it for a screenshot in one of the soundtrack videos. It's like infected Steppe or something. Or infected stone yard, maybe. I can't remember, but anyway. I remember just staring at that tree for a long time. So it is interesting again, yeah, how objects like that, probably made, offhandedly, can become just so important to our memory and imagination. What do we actually consider important about Pathologic? And of course, it's a silly answer to say I really like the tree, but without the tree it would be a different game. So it's little things like that yeah, I remain really, really interested in. Oh. No, schmatter, but yeah, I don't have anything on me anyway. I should play through the Marble Nest on stream as well, shouldn't I? It's been a good while since I played it through last year actually, which is still a while ago. But yeah, I was such a fan of the Marble Nest. I remember playing it over and over again. The pre-release build before Pathologic 2 was set to arrive, and obviously, you know, I just played Classic HD, of course, and then I played Marble Nest very excitedly, and I was sort of hoping somehow. Have you read the old Pathologic website? I have read the old Pathologic website, but it was a long time ago. I remember being really fascinated by the caravan stuff. Nobody could imagine any of the difficulties or terrible events that could come with the building of the railway that was bound for the northwest of the mountain knot. So the local administrative council decided to go on with the project. See, I love details like that. Thank you for sharing that. Knockout Lindo, I really appreciate that. Hope you're well. Yeah, I am well. My computer's power supply happened to die the other week, which is why I haven't been playing. That was the dramatic event I spoke of at the very, very start of the stream. But I am doing well otherwise, other than just being extremely tired. Got lots of stuff going on personally, but you know, I'll get there. I will get there. But yeah, I love details like that are sort of tucked away on these old websites and things like that. I spoke about that in my Forbidden Siren 2 video. Really the importance of making the game, like, it's a really simple way as well to make the game feel deeper than it is, right? Mechanically. Yeah, that would be, you're more than welcome to. That would be great. I'm happy to be the cipher for all of this. I can read this out to anyone who hasn't read it before. It's been a long time since I explored the old Pathologic websites, but I know I grabbed all those quotes at one point and started using them in some character analysis scripts and stuff like that. But I don't think I started one for Anna Angel, and I haven't quite finished it yet. It's still sitting in a folder somewhere waiting to be finished. But the stuff on the caravan was really, really valuable for writing that video. The Ogimskis are covering for you. They need you for some reason, so they would never tell me where you're hiding. But I need neither formulas nor money. You are not going to escape. Ruben. So Ruben's quite serious in this game about murdering us. Okay. So we've got 2 black, 1 brown. So yeah, we can do that. So yeah, 1 brown, 2 black. If we mix it, we get some extract, which boosts immunity and reduces health. So it says boosts, but it doesn't actually mean that. Okay. It boosts by -3. 1 black, 1 brown, 1 swivery, so we might as well do that as well. Although did I pick up any black before when I dumped this stuff in? No, I only picked up brown. We might as well go looking. I'll read this one out. This decision was inspired by the rate of development of our country and the promising results of the geological survey. Scarce settlements of this area, most of which were built in the previous century, basically cattle dealing factories, and few of them became small towns. There's little characterizing moments. I think giving the town history is so important. which is why I feel like I probably should have showed that off a bit more in the Bachelor's playthrough, but the fact that you can ask all of the regular townsfolk for directions around town, and also sort of for the history of each district as days go by, and you can find out certain things about the town's design and development. You do sort of miss that in Pathologic 2, just because you don't have as many conversations like that. There's no opportunity to keep going into conversations and mining them for all their details. It's normally just, you have one conversation with a person and you leave, which isn't bad or anything. It's a more efficient way of doing it, but you do lose moments of exposition like that, which, of course, for obsessive folks like myself, and probably those who are watching a playthrough of this sort, you do sort of miss out on world building details like that do characterize the world in a more profound way. There's a bit of black wire there. Let's see what else we can find. Just do like one loop of this section here, sort of touch up against the abattoir and then just go back home. I feel like maybe I've lost my touch. There's some swivery there, I think. Is that right? Okay. It's been so long. It's so peaceful. The flower picking. This is what video games were made for. But this music as well. So many countless hours of writing done to this music in particular. Love, the fusion of the sort of breathing noises, which makes the steppe sound alive, and these, these drums, which do evoke the people of the steppe. I think it's intentional for Artemis' relationship with the town. Most people treat him as though he's aware of the town and its going on, and its goings-ons, but of course as a player you aren't. This connection as a local kind of works against us when it comes to information gathering. I mean, certainly, you have this really interesting approach, I think, when it comes to characterization, but I do think it works really well. Like it makes it really important, makes every bit of information we're given feel more valuable, right? Include yourself in the obsessives. Good, that's you can wear that with pride. Goodness knows that me still playing this game. That's our faction. Damn right. Me still playing this game after 7 years. And I'll probably still be playing it again in another 7. I will still be streaming this somehow in 2031. Goodness me, I don't even want to think about it. But, I'll still be here. It'll be fun. But there's so much to recommend this game to people even today. I hope that future operating systems and whatnot and future hardware will still be able to run stuff like this, but who knows if that will ever be a priority. Backwards compatibility. What was it? It was one brown, one black. One black, one brown. I've actually forgotten what was it. Black, brown, it was swivery. So we'll take both of those to the Bachelor. Getting hungry and tired. Okay. Can do this. Can make it up to me, you'll be fine. It is, it's always a surreal experience playing it again and again, because I find that there's always more to discuss and more to talk about. And even after countless playthroughs over the years, and many hours dedicated to thinking about the game and actually what it offers. I think even still while playing it, and of course it's helped by the study I do into the field, but there's so much to talk about regarding the game's mechanics and how it meshes with the narrative, and also just the narrative and presentation itself. Space is, sort of become my prevailing focus, the spatialization of narrative within video games, because video games, as I said before, inherently spatial and inherently driven by narrative. Often when you break up a game's structure, we can visualize it in a spatial sense, right? Like if you imagine even a text game as being node-based, we have all of these different nodes that we're navigating between. We can imagine that laid out into rooms or these kinds of things. The longer you think about games in the context of being spatial, I think the harder it becomes to refute this idea of games being sort of inextricably connected to an environment, which is why the increasing number of games that are interested in discussing environmental issues, why that's so important, because games can do things that represent and simulate all of these new ongoing troubles and disasters, and the results of those disasters. Games will probably inevitably become even more ecological than they already are. We obviously do see that in a number of indie games. I forget the name, but there was a very good little indie game I read about that was doing interesting things with the fusion of the human body and ecology. So it was doing cool things with ideas of queerness and climate change, which are two very important topics.
This headache is splitting. I need some rest.
We're in a tough spot, wouldn't you agree? I managed to get a sample of one of the infusions. Have a look. Is it in any way useful? Go over to your little microscope there. Be all fancy. I love you can still hear his voice. He's still technically standing on the other side of the room with me. He just made a clone of himself to go and do the scientific research.
During an outbreak, discipline can only be maintained through unwavering exertion of authority.
We're in a tough spot, wouldn't you agree? So what is it? Just as I thought, a natural agent. I'm beginning to work on getting a sample of the microbial culture from dead tissue tomorrow. I could also see just how the tissue would react to the solution. Perhaps it can be used to fractionate blood. If it can, we may find a way to cure even a terminal patient. Why do that? Why fractionate blood? Come on, let's see you make a simple serum. You extract the bacterial culture, then inject it into a bull's or a horse's body. Then we extract the beast's blood with the antibodies that have already been produced by its immune system. We fractionate it too, purify it, and then it may be injected into a human body. The original serum can theoretically be obtained by trial and error. I know how serum is made, thank you very much. Why test the reaction of the tissue to the protective solution? I want to see how the microbial culture would react to it. And if we add tissue treating equipment and a distiller to process the herbs, we could try different components. We get what we're looking for sooner or later. That's not as big of an issue as it seems. Consider me having everything we need. Oh? Then get down to experiments, Barak. Study the recipes, make infusions, and treat organ specimens with them. In the end, you should obtain something resembling antibiotics. Bring your samples here, we'll check their effects. Come back when you have the first sample. I'll start working on dead tissues. Trial and error? That's no way to make a panacea. What do you suggest then? I'm not a bachelor of savage arts. I'm only taking this seriously due to being scientifically open-minded. Oh, good. A. Make a couple of infective infusions. B. Treat several different organ specimens with them. C. Study the effects. You think any infusion will do? They are all different. Very different. How should I know? Aren't you supposed to be the expert on this? Not all of them are equally effective, I suppose. Stick to the best and go from there. I just don't understand how a protective solution can help produce an antibiotic. I don't think these are regular protective solutions. I haven't studied your infusions in detail yet. It's most likely impossible under current circumstances anyway. drawing my theories from what I know about your father's actions. He was successful in using these potions, variously. I do believe he somehow managed to make a serum, so follow in his steps. That's what I would do. That's what I'm going to do. Best of luck to you when on. Thank you for the advice. And so I came into my father's inheritance. As was to be expected, there was a debt inside, along with the key to its repayment. The recipes of Twire decoctions. The diaries that will surely take days to read, though. Okay. So, what can we do? Do we have anything else? Any other tasks? No, not yet. Can we get any other letters? No, just a threat from Reuben. Goody. Guess we'll make the 20th journey today, back to the hideout. What's the time? Just 1 o'clock. I do still want to ride out the rest of this day, so I might play for another 20 minutes or so. Then yeah, goodness, I'm really tired. I need to well, I am sitting down. I need to put my head on a desk and try and get some sleep or something. Get back to bed. But it's been fun. I really do. Still love streaming. Still love streaming this game. It was a motivator this morning to get up. And apparently, can only motivate for so long before my body refuses to go on any further. But yeah, trying to think. The plan for next week, I'd love to stream twice, at least. So I'll stream this again, but I'm also... The plan is to stream the original Silent Hill 2 again, and then get back into my Haunting Ground playthrough after I've finished Silent Hill 2 again. It would be nice to get another playthrough under the belt, because last time I played through Silent Hill 2, that was, I think, 2022, and I've certainly grown both as a person and a streamer since then. So I feel like I could do the game a bit more justice probably than I did it last time. So it would be great to have people there, but I'll see how I do anyway. But I'll definitely stream this again next week, and hopefully I'll have more energy so I can do a longer one. That's the hope anyway. It's always the hope. See whether it ever works out. I love this as well. I don't know why. I always kind of wished that there'd be a sequence in this game where you did have to like explore the factory and you did get to walk around, on top of all of these walkways. But sadly, you only really explore two little rooms inside each factory. But the way it's laid out, you can sort of imagine, like a high-octane first-person shooter or something, and at the very least, an atmospheric shooter being set in a location like this. But obviously, this game is really a subversion of traditional expectations of this first-person viewpoint, right? Andre's invitation. I've been told you're one of the few Odong to have survived the massacre yesterday. Come to the Riverside Shabine, let's talk. Andre Martin. I'll go see Andre. Get something to eat as well. The rain feels like it's picked up a little bit. I don't know whether that's true or not. But yeah, like traditionally, right, the first-person perspective, we've been conditioned by a lot of video games to see that as inherently like a vector for violence. But that's not what Pathologic does, obviously. You can commit a lot of violence in this game, but quite often it is simply to put us in the shoes of this character in a very physical way, and to have conversations from a first-person perspective where you're the one making all the facial expressions, whereas in other games you might have facial expressions reactions being done entirely by the character themselves. In this one, really the onus is on you to pay attention and to react the way you see fit, which is another way that the game draws you into the game world and the rhythms of existing in this funky little town. Let's see. How much is your overpriced bread, sir? Oh, thank you. I love stale bread for 1,650 coins. Love it. I can't wait to re-experience the trials that happen towards the end of this playthrough and see if they're just as hard as I remember them being. I feel like I build them up in my mind as being really difficult, but maybe this time I'll actually be prepared for them. I also can't remember if... was Haruspex it's been so long. I forget all the little details like slip out of my mind. I'll find out, I suppose. I'll find out what happens. Right. Into the bar. The Broken Heart. Hello, Peter. What's up?
You're close. I know that.
Good. I am close, yes. Do you know Maria? Do you? Be careful around her. Her love is more devastating than her hatred. I used to know her when you weren't even here. Does he have anything else? No, he doesn't have anything else to say. Cool. Hello, Andre.
Eva is scared witless. And how's my Maria? Does she remember my little brother?
I see a worthy fighter before me. What are you, a soldier or an inquisitor? No, I'm an architect, and also one of the most dangerous people in this town. Oh, here I was thinking that the most dangerous person in this town was me. You want to challenge me for the title? I'm all for it. Well, if we do compete, you'll outdrink me easily. That's clear as day. Ha! You're a funny man. Nah, you can't settle this by the means of vodka. Let's see who ends more lives in a short period of time. Shall we make it 10 days? I don't kill people, I save their lives. I'm a surgeon.
Oh, I would have let my fists loose if not for these pins.
That's the original translation of that was, I would give vent to my hands if it wasn't for these brackets. One of the best lines from the original English translation. Just because of the way he says, he's like, I would give vent to my hands if it wasn't for these brackets. Just completely inexplicable, just perfect. I'll tell you what, we're leaving, my brother and I. Our belongings can go to blazes. How about I give something away to you too? The moment seems appropriate. See how the prices have shot up? A great time for profiteering. Having seed money can make you a millionaire by the evening. How? I have money, tons of it. 4,000 in local currency. I want a mere nothing for it. 4,000, huh? You're broke compared to me already. I need brown twire, 10 blades, no less. Straight, clean ones, no flaws, no colour, preferably named. That's optional. Brown twire will yield to you. You're a Menku. Deal? I don't get it. And how am I supposed to make a fortune by the evening? You don't get it? With my money, you'll be able to buy a whole load of goods and resell them for 3 times as much. A certain shop? I've got good sources. What shop? Not so fast. Like I said, my sources are reliable. Victor won't let us down either. It's all cut and dried with the Canes. They've got no time for mercantile matters anyway. So overprice away. Well, what do you say, huh? So you want the brown herb? Okay, you'll have it by evening. We can give that a go. I don't know. Do we have any left? I think we used it. Let's go for a wander around the steppe anyway. Find some. No worries. See how we do. Another 10 minutes. And I'm sure my voice will give out. Goodness me. I don't know what's wrong. I feel like I slept well enough, but who knows. I should title this episode the one where HGA yawns a lot. Okay. We'll just head out to the steppe. We'll see how much twire we can find. I don't know how much luck I'm going to have though. I can't even remember. I don't think I ever figured out whether certain twire grew in a certain region or not, or whether it was sort of more just random, scattered everywhere equally. semi-equally. That was a positive insinuation about the Canes. If they were involved in mercantile matters, would they handle the price gouging? Interesting. Yeah, that's a good point actually. I do like little observations like that. Like the town sort of falling to bits in that way. Kind of tracks, that's what the Glire ends up handling. That costs the town the ability to buy food with regular coin. Yeah. I do like the idea that, like the town already is collapsing into smaller bits and factions in disarray, just because all of the usual authorities are preoccupied with various disasters and tragedies and covering up their own mistakes and whatnot. And it's just another way that Pathologic encourages you to like put these pieces together and say, well, how did things get this bad? Well, you find that out on Haruspex Day 2 if you talk to Andre in this totally optional conversation. You have little moments like that do reward you for paying attention and engaging with the material and thinking it through. Aguirre. I also need to finish my character analysis on her. She's such a good character. Come on, Brown Twilight. Where's any Twilight at all? Outrageous. It's fun. It's like a puzzle, but I wish there was an answer. I have to accept it's not meant to be that. I think the most rewarding thing really is accepting that you're not going to get, you never get all the answers no matter how many times you play it through, because all the answers just aren't there. But you can imagine the answers. I think that's the really strong thing about the game's writing, is that you can envision exactly what they were going for, what they were trying to do, right? There's so much to recommend about this game's writing, but the acceptance that you are still living in a fictional world, I think, where not everything can be answered. It's obviously part of the game's message as well, is that you shouldn't expect everything to be handed to you on a silver platter. Not everything can be put into a wiki. Sometimes you have to make personal calls, subjective calls, about what is important to you and what has the most personal meaning. Obviously supported by the text, of course, but to some degree. But still, a lot of the time, it comes down to subjective opinion. Is the Bachelor right? Well, one person will say, yes, he is, and here's why, because all these other characters support his argument, and someone will say, well, no, but Changeling's playthrough makes a lot of sense because of X, Y, Z character saying this and that, and you have all of these different confounding things, which do make it sort of seem like a puzzle to be solved. But the magic is that everyone gets to solve it differently. Everyone gets to approach art in their own way, and the game encourages that. The game encourages you to play each character in a different way, and to actually branch out and experience different worldviews. And I think realizing as well that, as much as I enjoy analyzing stuff and playing it through over and over again, analyzing to solve something like a puzzle, I think is wrong. To just put a stamp on it and say done, finished, solved, put that away in a drawer now, because that's not true. That's not true of any art that I can think of, really. The thing that's really important is actually being able to recognize that every time that you engage with a work of art, that you're going to engage with it again in a new way, because you've changed, you've aged, you've evolved. You're going to see new things in it. You're going to take new messages from it. I know that's That's really true of a lot of games that I replay again. Is it's like, oh, all of a sudden, actually, this line of dialogue does mean something more to me personally, or it might not to other people. And that's the magic of sharing stories, and that's really, like such an integral part of being human is our love of narrative, our love of stories. And I could ramble about that all day. You can really tell where my interest lies, and why Pathologic draws that out of me as well, is that I've had so many fascinating discussions with people about Pathologic, about its potential as a narrative vehicle, right? When I transformed Pathologic into a tabletop role-playing game, I think back in 2018, 2019. This was must have been then, because it was before Pathologic 2 came out. It was interesting to see how the players would take my own interpretation of the game's story and then would build on it in a different way. So all of a sudden we were playing a totally new version of Pathologic, even using the same structure, the same base idea and narrative, and many of the same NPCs. Is that nonetheless this was a totally new and vivid rereading of the game, which created some incredible moments of storytelling between, like, as a group, that sort of almost remain unrivaled to this day for me, like in my memory, of what we could create as a collective as well. It's such a fun way to experience narrative as a collective, and I think that's why we're also drawn to engaging with what other people think about art, and it shouldn't devolve into a conflict over, like, I'm right and you're wrong, or this work is in some way like immoral because it merely represents certain things. I've seen that kind of argument bandied about, and that's really unhelpful. You need a stronger argument than it is immoral because it has a character who indulges in murder or whatever. There's just so much to talk about, and for as long as I live I will probably be doing stuff like this, hopefully, world permitting, but be able to talk about art and its importance, and how important it is that we make art that isn't there to be solved, that's there to be nurtured and thought about, and that encourages thinking differently. Yes, absolutely, 100% agree. I have seen the immoral argument. Okay to appreciate something while recognizing its faults, and that's exactly where I align as well. Is that you can still appreciate a work even if it doesn't handle a topic as sensitively as you would have liked. Obviously there are some texts that I personally really dislike because of the way they handle topics that are very near and dear to me, and I dislike them, and I'd be happy to explain why to people. But at the same time I can also recognize that faults in certain works of art like that are also like what I would consider to be like part of a learning journey or something. Like, just creating something is really an act of defiance, and I think creating something is a learning process, and the more people create, I think the more we learn about ourselves and the more we learn about other people. That's really what I've found creativity to be, is drawing me closer to other people, and that's an experience that I wouldn't trade for the world. I think creativity is exceedingly important, and we really need it. No, we're not told that often enough. The process of creating something is more important, and I think has become more and more important as we get, these, large language models and AI generation and that kind of thing. Is it's not actually the end product that necessarily matters. Like, obviously a great end product, like fantastic, like I'm all over that, right? But it's actually the process of creating something, I think, that's really what we should nurture. Because every time we do that, we're learning about ourselves, and we're actually engaging with ourselves and with the world around us. And the more we do that, I think the more open-minded and the more rewarded that we can become. And if all we're doing is, sort of, I don't know, passively, uncritically consuming without creating ourselves, I think it can create like a really vicious feedback loop where we feel that only the end product matters because we're not valuing the actual creative input and the blood, sweat and tears that goes into actually making something. Quite often, I see it far too often, particularly in regards to video games. I think people aren't appreciative enough of the sheer level of effort it takes to make a game, let alone to make something good. I was hoping you wouldn't notice that, I'm talking about, the beauty of art, but, I guess that didn't work, right? You caught me, it's, fine, you got me. You forgive me, that's good. I don't know how I would have gone on otherwise. Liked what you're saying a lot, so I couldn't help it. That's quite alright. You got to point out crimes wherever you see them, injustice, and well, I'm afraid, today that was me. So can't escape the law, I'm afraid. Right, what's the time? 8 o'clock. Didn't find very much brown wire at all. I know there's sometimes, very occasionally, some on this north bank here, I think. That's where I found some there once. No schmouder. But yeah, that's generally what I try and tell people these days. Don't just value the end product. Like, actually value what getting to that point can do for you as a person. Because there's so much stuff that I would like to make, so many things, but the level of thought that I have to put into it to want to get it right, is different. Very difficult. I and many were never told that. Yeah, it's unfortunate. I'm learning that now, and my relationship to what I'm making is changing completely. That's awesome to hear. Honestly, it is. It's really important to have, I think, that relationship to what you're creating, and to actually be open to what you're making. In the process, the process is just as important, if not more important, than what you end up with at the end. Because the process is what you spend the most time with as a creator. And I think the more that we demystify that and encourage it, I think, the better off we will be. Rather than just, every work of art is made by one genius who, goes into their workshop or their room or whatever, and then emerges like a couple of weeks later with a masterpiece or something. Because I feel like that kind of attitude is really unhelpful as well to anyone who thinks about making art, because they're like, oh, that's it's too difficult. Like, I don't have the kind of the brain for that or whatever. All these excuses. And, I say to people, no, you do. You can do it. You're fully capable of making something, and it doesn't matter if the world would judge it to be bad, or if wouldn't get into an art gallery or whatever. If you're painting or something, say, or drawing, it's the fact that you made something, that's important. That's what's important. And I hope Even if I just inspire one person who's listening to, go out and write some poetry, or start designing a game, or do what you want to do, then, I consider that a win. I want this to be, like a channel about video games, and about studying them critically and academically, but also, like a positive space for discussion about the creative process, and about art, and all of these kinds of things, and everything that really goes into making it. And you can tell that, gets me fired up for a minute. I can feel a yawn coming on, but that staved off the yawns for 10-15 minutes, so that's good. I think I might have to give up on Andre's quest. I really haven't been having a good amount of luck with that, so I might just head back to the hideout, sleep, and then probably wrap up for the day, because I can feel the exhaustion setting back in after my momentary little rant there. As often happens to me, go on a little rant and then that was quite tiring. Part of the problem is that I haven't streamed as much routinely as I wanted to, so it does take a while to build up stamina for streaming again, and talking quite this frequently. Keeping the game with some commentary, with things to say. It does seem to take a bit of stamina, and every time I start to get back into it, it does take a bit to get used to it again. But I'm definitely much better than I was when I started, which was with Silent Hill 4, and that was a while ago. So it's a sighting of the rare dog model. Go dog go. I don't know why the dog is so rare, and why they spawn out of the factory area once or twice in a campaign. I can't remember if Artemy ever sees them again. Bachelor sees them because he's got to fight them off in the graveyard. I don't remember Changeling seeing them again other than in the factory area once. Just strange. I'm also fascinated by the use of obscure little game assets like that. Why use them once in such a specific circumstance? I don't know. Were there originally meant to be more dogs, judging by the amount we can hear barking? I don't know. It's just interesting. It's the kind of thing that fascinated me as a child as well. It's why does this enemy only show up in one spot? What makes them so special? Okay, let's just go to sleep. And then add the burial bread.
The day is over. Your timely efforts allowed your supporters to remain unharmed. A new mime performance is being rehearsed at the theatre.
Sure is. We're going to go watch that mime performance, and then I'm going to go find some more Twire there now. I guess all the Twire spawns would have been reset. I'm not sure Hay is supposed to get 10 brown though, unless I was just looking in all the wrong spots. I suppose I could have. There is a lot of space. You can actually sort of get up around behind here, so maybe I should have checked there as well. But yeah, it's been too long since I've done original Haruspex playthrough, so I've probably forgotten some of the minute details, unfortunately. But hopefully that makes it fun for you to watch as well. For those of you who, probably perhaps remember the game better than I do. I've played this a few times by now. It's just the little things that slip my mind, I think. Probably make it still vaguely frantic. Given that, I haven't played Haruspex in the original for 2 years or something. So, which is long enough to forget the little objectives, but not obviously the larger overarching story. So, still having the capacity to be surprised by this game, even in the moment, and then later I'll be like, oh yeah, no, I remember that. That's still fun. It's just so much to remember in this game as well, which helps. Okay, so found a piece of dialogue with bad grief in Pathologic 2 the other day I'd never found before. Actually got so excited. That's cool. I love that. I love stuff like that in games. Especially Pathologic, obviously. But do you remember what bit it was? Like, what triggered it? Why you hadn't seen it before?
Rulers had to accept something was wrong. The terrifying discoveries have convinced them. One of them managed to curb the family feud.
Bad news. The governor will abuse his power, and the rest won't let him get away with this. Nothing's changed.
The town was placed in quarantine. From now on, the infected districts will be locked down, and no one will be able to leave until the situation is resolved.
Well, it won't be. They won't figure it out.
I love the original Executor costumes there. The gold helmets, gold masks. Well, they look gold in this lighting anyway. Need to do something specific in Act 1 to get this dialogue in Act 4, and I've never done that combination of things. Like small files, save files around it, don't know how I must do it. That's still really cool though. I love that. Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing Pathologic 2 on stream and seeing like what I discover that I've forgotten, or maybe that I never saw in the first place. That would be cool. I don't know how much of that is left, but I like to imagine there's still got to be something, some stuff I haven't seen. Yeah, no, I'm excited for that. But yeah, sorry to bow out early. Lots, excellent. Yeah, I can't wait. I can't remember how many times I played through Pathologic 2, but it was a scary amount. But yeah, I'm sure there's still a lot that I missed. But yeah, sorry to bow out slightly earlier than I wanted to, but hey, at least I finished day 2. Hopefully you got some interesting stuff out of this stream, and I will see you all next time. So take care, look after yourself, and yeah, make some fun art.